Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of At the Movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, William Fletcher, and this week I am joined by a returning guest who has not been on the show for a very long time, but he is back. I'm joined by returning Josh,
Hello, happy to be here.
and this
It's
week
super
we
hot.
are going to be talking about Jurassic World Dominion, because there is
The new
Jurassic
one
World
coming out.
Rebirth. Yeah, Jurassic World Rebirth. That's what the new one's called, right?
Yeah, I
That'll
think
be
so.
out.
I forget what it's called. I don't know why. I just think of it
It's
as the
a
new
it's a
Jurassic World movie.
very generic. Look, these Hollywood franchise films, they just pick an arbitrary word to go in the title of their
Yeah,
films. Really.
based on the trailers, I don't know what Rebirth necessarily has anything to do with
Yeah.
that
I
story,
mean,
but I guess
what does Dominion have to do with this film? Like, let's be honest.
well,
What does it mean?
Jeff Goldblum says it once in the middle of the movie. I guess.
Yeah,
So,
it would be.
there's-
It also would be better if it had the minions from Despicable Me. If it was Jurassic World,
maybe
the Minion, that would just make it a much
there
better
you go.
film. Yeah, well, it came out around the time of Minions: The Rise of Gru, but yes, we're here to talk about Jurassic World Dominion. But before we talk about that, do you just want to quickly give your thoughts on the other Jurassic films, Jurassic Park and Jurassic World films? Because I've
Yeah,
covered all
sure.
of them in the past before, and I only really love the first Jurassic Park. Then I think The Lost World is bad. Jurassic Park 3 is not great, but I think it's better than The Lost World. And then I like Jurassic World, the first one, and I actually quite enjoyed Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which I know is like controversial to say. I do like Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. It's probably my second favorite of the franchise, honestly, which I know is like again hideously controversial to say because I know a lot of people don't like that film.
I've
But
I've heard that take before. I think
there's
I understand
enough
them. So
there's enough fun in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom for me to enjoy it. And I can sort of be like the sort of first stuff on the island I don't care for, but once it gets into like the haunted mansion stuff like that I really enjoy.
So I am a lifelong Jurassic Park fan. Like when I was 5 years old, that was one of the first movies I saw. So like I was obsessed with dinosaurs when I was little and so like that. And so it was like my franchise. And so I have a lot of nostalgia for pretty much every single one of them. But with that being said, the only one that I think is like truly a great movie is the first one. I mean, obviously, the original Jurassic
Mm,
Park, Steven Spielberg in his prime, it's one of the best blockbusters that's ever come out. And I don't
mm,
think any of the ones after that necessarily replicated that. But I think all of them are watchable at the very least. So I guess I'll go through them individually. I think I actually quite like Jurassic Park 2. I mean, I sort of go back and forth on it. I think
mm,
there's a lot of issues with that screenplay, and
mm,
it's the beginning of the problems that a lot of those films have, but it
mm,
has Spielberg's directing at the front and all of like those terrific sequences throughout. And so I
mm,
still find it a pretty enjoyable movie, even if there's a lot of problems with it.
mhm.
Jurassic Park 3, less so. Yeah, but I mean, I don't think Jurassic Park 3 is like atrocious, but it's pretty obvious. Like with I quite like Jurassic World, the first one, and then
Mm,
I'm not crazy about Fallen Kingdom, but I don't think it's like terrible. I think the cool thing about Fallen Kingdom is like it's probably the best directed in the series since Steven Spielberg left. Like J.A. Bayona actually has a cool visual style, and I think that
mm,
elevates
mm.
that movie a little bit. Especially like you
Yes.
get to, as you were saying, like the sequences in the back half that are sort of directed like a horror movie a little bit. So
Yeah.
that is-
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
and so I think that elevates that movie a bit. But I think it's very, very flawed screenplay there. Uh,
Mhm.
And then so that brings us to Dominion.
Hmm.
And do you want to go first or should I go first?
Well, I have talked about this a little bit in my 2022 review of the year, but I don't remember what I would have said about it. I remember what rating I gave it when I first saw it. But I did rewatch it a couple of days ago for the purposes of this, because I hadn't seen it since it came out, and I went in with, decent expectations for it because the ending of Fallen Kingdom with dinosaurs in the real world was a fantastic sequence, I felt. I felt the idea of having dinosaurs in the real world. There's that great moment in the second one where there's that like big wave and the mosasaur is like swimming towards like these all these surfers. Like that
Yeah.
like you got great stuff like that, and I was like, that's great. And I was really, really happy. Well, not really happy, I was really excited to see what they do with it. And then, this film was delayed heavily by COVID, um, as was every film basically for the past however many years. Like, it's not, most films got delayed by a considerable amount by COVID. Yeah, I went in, and I will say this got very poor reviews. Like, this was not
Yeah.
a liked film on release. It was. I mean, I'm aware people would consider this like worst film of the decade material. People giving it 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10.
It
And
has
I'm just
like a
looking here.
22% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, it is going to be 29% on Rotten
Oh,
Tomatoes.
29, sorry.
Yeah, which is insanely low for
Yeah.
this film. Like, and I would argue that's maybe a tad harsh. I'm gonna say I think this is the worst Jurassic World film, but in the overall context of this Jurassic Park franchise, I don't think it's the worst one.
For me, though, I went into the movie very excited. Like you, I do really like that ending of Fallen Kingdom, seeing all the dinosaurs come.
Mm,
I don't like the setup for that scene. The thing with Maisie pushing the button, I always thought was stupid. But the sequence itself
mm,
with Jeff Goldblum narrating over it and all of that, I always thought was
mhm.
great. And so there's a great setup for this movie.
Yes.
Dinosaurs are on the mainland now, and so it's sort of like Planet of the Apes with dinosaurs almost. And so it's like there's a lot of questions of what are they going to do about this. And so I
Mm.
was highly anticipating this movie, and so I saw it, and I was not the biggest fan. I did find it to be rather disappointing,
Mm,
but I didn't think it was like this generationally bad movie or anything. 'Cause
mhm,
I kind of soured on it a bit, like, when I first left the theater, I was like, "Okay, that wasn't very good," but I think the 20% on Rotten Tomatoes is crazy,
mm,
and so I was wondering, how am I gonna feel on rewatch going into this one? And I was prepared for it to be, like, completely shattering, that it was gonna be, like, this miserable experience upon rewatch, and
mm,
watching it last night, I don't think it was that. Like, I think this is
mm,
a bad movie, but not like
mhm,
worst of the decade or anything. I still
mm,
think it is fairly
mhm,
watchable.
mm.
And so
Uh, yeah. I think I will probably be a tad more positive than you. Not to say I think this is like a great film or anything. There is some real problems with it, but I kind of just overall I didn't really mind watching it. Like I wasn't particularly bored by watching it. I
it's
wasn't
not boring,
particularly
no.
it's not boring. I don't even I think honestly, it's in some places it's very poorly made. Like some of the like one thing I noticed that I really don't notice that much in films is the blocking and just like how characters will just sort of teleport between areas. Like there'll be a shot and then like it's breaking like how much it breaks the sort of the sort of route like the like night. What I forget what the fucking rule's called, but it's like you always. I don't remember what like the rule is or what the rule's called, but they'll be like just how characters appear in shots. It's like, oh, they're just there.
Right.
I thought they
Because
were.
there's not really continuity to it.
Yeah,
The
there's
thing
no
is, like,
content, and yeah, I don't
this
really
movie
notice that
is
often, but yeah.
this movie is not well made at all. But like, it's when all
No.
is said and done, it's like a decently enjoyable experience. I feel that way about pretty much all of them, though. I mean, like
Mm,
I'm probably gonna be the one who's more negative on this movie than you, but like I don't think
mm.
I didn't have a bad experience watching it.
Yeah, I will say I don't think it basically I quite enjoyed the first like the film sort of falls apart in the third last third of the film. I think everything before then I'm relatively on board with. I think that it two-thirds the film does sort of peak for me sort of in the middle when they're in that like I don't remember where they are, but they're like these guys are like betting on dinosaurs and there's like these dinosaurs all in like chains and
You mean like when they're
um
in what was it? Was it Malta? I think like with all the
yeah,
torches.
yeah, they're in
Yeah,
it's like yeah, somewhere in Europe they're in. I think that's where the film peaks and there's like there's some fun bits where like Chris Pratt is driving around on like a motorcycle while he's being chased by these well, they're not
right.
raptors, are they? They're like a
Well, they are
um
they're not velociraptors.
they're not veloc
They're a
they're like
different.
a
I think
subspecies
it
of
was Anticeraptor or something, which as someone who was like obsessed with dinosaurs when I was I don't think I've heard of that one.
the first two-thirds of Jurassic World Dominion are good. Like I do enjoy them and I think I honestly because this film has a like yeah, this film is very messy, I'll be honest. It's and
It's
I'm
a
aware of COVID, which affected their production, but also like there were films that that started filming before Jurassic World Dominion that finished after that came out before this film. Like
yeah.
Spider-Man: No Way Home started filming before, and they got it out before. Or sorry, it started filming after this film had started, and then got it
Yeah.
out. So it's just
The
weird how long it took them to get this film released. Really,
I mean, this is a very like this probably had a super long post-production process with all the visual effects.
yeah,
And
and also
it's harder
they
to
were
shoot a movie like
yeah,
this
yeah.
because you have all
And
these
also they
locations like
were
that.
yeah, presumably they were, figuring out how to film with COVID because this was one of the first real productions having to figure that out and, with
Yeah,
masks on set and, hand sanitizer and all those things,
right.
it seems pretty,
It was
films are pretty much back to how they were pre-COVID,
yeah,
So I think
but like it was
but this
being
was
one of the
yeah,
first productions to go back. Like, it was a difficult thing to navigate,
yeah.
and
So
like you
I
said, I think
understand.
that shows a little bit. But
Yeah, exactly. And
the,
I think that's yeah, fair to be honest.
I'll say well, the one thing I did enjoy a lot about this movie is seeing the original trio come back. 'Cause, I mean, like Sam Neill and Laura Dern, they just have so much more gravitas than most of the Jurassic World characters, at least to me. And so it's I mean, yes, it is fan servicey.
Yeah, I will say that's one of my biggest issues with these films is that I don't really care about any of the new characters. Like I really couldn't care less about Chris. Look, I don't like Chris Pratt in general. I think he's a bit of a knob. I think he's a bit of an unlikable guy. Um, he's also in everything now, and it's really irritating.
Yeah, it's like he's
Like he's in it,
super oversaturated by this point. Yeah.
yeah. This was when he was really people really started to hate Chris Pratt. plus it doesn't help because of his church and
Right.
his political opinions and all these just like the way his god stuff, which really bothers some people. And I don't have a problem with like people who are religious. I think that's fine. I think that's like, if people want to believe in a god, then I think there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not gonna say you shouldn't, but
Right.
there's like, he's very preachy about it, and it's just kind of off-putting to someone like me
Right.
who doesn't believe. Like, I think believing in God is fine, but don't try and like make me
Don't try
believe
to
it.
enforce on other people, right.
Like, which is yeah, but I don't think believing in a god is an inherently bad thing, or people who believe in a god are inherently bad people. He's annoying about it, and it just he's in everything, and he's just doing the same
Yeah.
thing in everything, which like
Right, it's
that's
like,
the biggest problem.
I didn't have a big problem with Chris Pratt, but it's like, I think by this point, it's just like he does the same shtick every time, and so, like, I think his character was a little bit more enjoyable in the other 2 maybe. By the time you get to this one, it's like, Chris Pratt is just going through the motions here.
Yeah, this was at the. I think the Chris Pratt fatigue has sort of faltered a little bit. It's not as big of a thing now, but
What was the
I
last movie? It was it Garfield was the last thing he was in, or am I forgetting?
I think it was The Electric State on
Oh.
Netflix with
Oh,
Millie
yeah.
Bobby Brown,
Oh, I fell
which
asleep while watching that.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet.
I got, like, 20 minutes in, and I fell asleep, and then I never bothered to try it again. I don't know.
Look, I've not heard
Like,
good
yeah.
words on it. Okay, I've
Yeah.
I've I've yet to hear anyone say, "Oh yeah, that was good."
The
Yeah.
most fun part of this movie is, like, seeing their dynamic, and Sam Neill going out with Jeff Goldblum and all of that. I
Mm,
think they elevate this quite a bit, and so I
yeah.
like they're all together in the forest and stuff like that. It's like that's when it's like, okay, this isn't as bad as I remember.
It's like it's nostalgia, and it's like
It's
it
not
is
like
kind.
this
It's a
movie
very
has that much else to offer. So it's like, I'll take what I can
yeah.
get. So,
Yeah, but I'm sort of like, I know some people really don't like sort of the nostalgia bait stuff, and I get that, and I think, but I also am like, I'm not immune to nostalgia. Like
right.
I will concede, if I'm not inherently immune to it. There are definitely films that do trade heavily on. Look, that's one of the big problems I have with this film, is it does trade heavily on nostalgia at so many
Yeah.
points, and
And
some moments
at
I
points where
really
it
like.
doesn't make any sense either.
No,
I
some
noticed
moments,
all of these little yeah.
yeah, there are
Uh,
certain moments that I like, and there are certain moments where I was just like, "Oh my god, what are we doing here?" One of
right.
the most bizarre points for me was that Dodgson is like in this film, and I
The
don't know
main
if it's
villain.
meant. Yeah, I don't know if he's meant to be the guy we hear about in the first film, or if he's
Well,
like,
so yeah, so Dogson, he owned Biosyn, of course, right? So Biosyn is the company that
a
sends
new
Dennis
evil
Nedry.
corporation.
It's like
We always
it's
have to get an evil
yeah,
corporation in these films.
right. Like it's InGen's rival, and so that they were the guys who sent Nedry to get the Barbasol can and all that, stuff like that.
Yeah, it really is like annoying how many fucking references this film crams. It's really really irritating. Just some of the references like there's the I mean, Dodgson, he gets killed by the Dilophosaurus, which
Right. Yeah.
Nedry did
In
um
the first one, yeah.
in the first film, yeah. But it's just so, it doesn't even feel earned. It just sort of feels like it's just fan service, and it's not even it's not even like a good scene or anything. It's like it's so over. Yeah, it's just not like, I don't
I don't
I
I don't
don't
know why they had that scene inside. Is it that It felt like such a
No,
weird
I don't really
location
get
to
it
like.
either. I really wouldn't have I don't, yeah, I don't really understand what was the point of it, because like,
Why was the Dilophosaurus in there? I don't remember why. Was there an
I
explanation for that?
don't,
'Cause that wasn't the area that the dinosaurs were being herded to. I don't know why
no.
they just spawned in to kill Dennis Ned or to kill Dodgson.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, the second half, last third of the film completely loses me. Like, I am complete, like, I just like the first two
Right.
thirds,
It
I'm all on board with those first two thirds. I quite like them. The film just falls apart and loses me in the last third. I think that honestly, there's some really good stuff with the dinosaurs. Like, there are some really really good scenes with the dinosaurs. There's that scene where Bryce Dallas Howard is that sort of, I don't know if it's like a
with
blind dinosaur or whatever it is.
the Therizinosaurus, I think is what it's called, right? When they're, like, in the swamp.
Yes, the swamp.
There's
Yeah, and it's
one
got like the
really
big.
cool shot in that where, like, Claire is underwater and, like, it's sort of split with the reflection and stuff like that with the dinosaur staring in. That was probably the
Yeah,
best
I
shot
think
in the
that's
movie was
that is a really good scene. That's one of the better scenes of the film, I'd say. I think it does a really, really, really good job at. It's effectively. I wouldn't say it's a scary scene because, but
but,
as
I
like
mean,
a
like,
tense scene, it works. I think it's quite an
there are
effective.
occasion there are some good dinosaur sequences when they happen,
Yeah,
and
and I
then
think that's true of all the films. I think all of the films have good sequences with, like, those are some of the best bits in like the other less good films are the dinosaur sequences, you know.
right,
I think that, like Fallen Kingdom, which, I do like Fallen Kingdom, like the opening scene of that where there's like the underwater
right. And
like submarine
Fallen
and there's the
Kingdom is
Moses.
filled with those good sequences, with the helicopter
Yeah,
and all that
exactly.
when the
It's filled
Mosasaur
with some
jumps
fantastic
out in the rain and
dinosaur
stuff like that.
sequences. Yeah, when the dinosaurs are on screen, the film is better. Like, I do enjoy the film more when there's dinosaurs
And so that sort of
on screen.
segues into what maybe my biggest issue with this movie is that it's surprisingly not that heavily centered on the dinosaurs because they devote half of this movie to locusts for some reason.
I completely forgot about that when I started rewatching it. I completely forgot that there were like locusts, and that was like a
When I saw
big.
that in the theater, my mind was blown. I was like, "Okay, so we have bugs and stuff like that. Okay, that's interesting. Wait, is this what the movie is about?"
Yeah,
So I so, like,
I
my
distinctly I remember because there was like a shot in the trailer where there's like two kids running in like the like, and
from
then there's
all
all
the
these
bugs
like
and stuff like that,
locusts
and,
coming
like,
up from the corn, and I was like, oh, that's in. I remember thinking like, oh, those are,
that's a cool
small
idea.
dinosaurs.
That would be an interesting scene.
Yeah, I was
I
like, oh,
don't
those are
think
some
that would
small.
be an interesting I don't know why half of the movie devoted to dinosaurs is actually
I
Mission Impossible with bugs, but, you know.
Yeah, I don't. I might have already forgotten, but what was the point of the locusts again? What were they doing? Um,
It was another evil biosyn thing. I get like Dogson wanted to kill the crops of other companies or something and create a monopoly. And then
yeah, it
they tie that because Henry Wu he wants to stop this or something, but he needs Maisie to do that or something. It's really dumb.
yeah, it's yeah, it's not good. It doesn't make any sense. It's like these aren't even dinosaurs. Like, what are we doing, guys?
And so like
This isn't these.
and so that's the thing is like so they have to work these legacy characters in, right? And that should be pretty easy to do because, I mean, Alan Grant, he studies dinosaurs. He's a paleontologist.
Yeah,
His specialty is not corporate espionage with bugs. but for some reason, that's his role in this movie. That's what Ellie goes out to get him for. It's like it's just
Yeah.
so silly. Like, it's baffling. They're like, we have a good premise for this movie. Dinosaurs are taking over the world. What are we gonna do? Well, it turns out we don't do anything because they're all already on the sanctuary, and it's mostly under control. So, like, there's an entire movie that should have happened before this movie, and so they explain all these things in the first 30 seconds, and it's just like, why are what is the point of this? I don't understand, you know?
Yeah. I yeah, it's a very big it's like a lot of franchises they're bringing back the Disney Star Wars. They brought back all the Luke and Han and Leia,
Yeah,
but I'm
Leia
gonna be
and
honest,
Lando.
I didn't have a problem with how some of them were used in those Star Wars films.
I do
Um,
think people exaggerate how poorly utilized those are. Like, I don't think the Luke's at least for the most part, I don't think Luke is handled that badly in Last Jedi. I think
no,
they're
if
mostly
I would
mixed
go as
messages.
far to say Luke in The Last Jedi is one of the most interesting characters in all of Star Wars, honestly. I genuinely
It's
think
like Mark Hamill's best performance as that character, probably.
I would say
I think
yeah, and I
that's
think it's the
another
most
topic.
interesting thing they could have done because I didn't really want to see Luke just being the same old Luke he was in Return of the Jedi. Like that just would have been a bit boring and just like
Right. I mean,
obvious.
you
I
have to have another obstacle there.
Yeah, exactly. Because otherwise, it's like, oh, so he's just immediately like, yeah, I'll help you guys deal with the First Order. It's just like that's just not interesting, you know. It's just like,
I
but
think where my issue lies with that character arc is just like in some of the justification they do for it with like those flashback scenes with Ben Solo and all that. I don't think they really handled that stuff well. But like the actual character itself, I didn't really have a problem with.
I think Star Wars did a better job of bringing back actors for those roles, whereas they feel
Well, at least
fairly
those characters are doing things that make sense for those characters to do. It's like it's with the
yeah.
plot that they chose for Dominion. Is like I don't actually know why they brought these characters in. Like I was like, I get it's for the nostalgia bait, but it's like the actual justification they choose makes zero sense.
Yeah,
Grant would not care about this. Neither would
yeah.
Ellie, to be honest.
At a certain point, it was just like, what was the point of having Sam Neill and Jeff Goldblum and
I
um,
mean, it's like
Laura
so I think the
Dern? Like,
movie
what was the
gets.
point of?
I think the movie becomes more fun when they're actually getting to operate in their skill sets when like they're going around in the forest, actually running from the dinosaurs and stuff like that.
Mm,
Like in the first half of the movie, it's like this is a Mission Impossible movie with these two really old
yeah, which
paleontologists and botanists.
I don't really want. All I wanted from this film was literally
It's
all
like
I
this.
wanted was just stuff with dinosaurs.
It's like
It's just
this
like
should not have
fun
been that
dinosaur
hard to.
carnage.
This should not have been a hard movie to do because like you have a built-in really cool premise for a movie. But that's
Yeah.
not what the plot of this movie is for some reason.
No, and that was, like, one of my big disappointments. It's like, "Oh, cool, we're doing, an interesting, I was like,
Like,
"Cool,
I
this
would have
is gonna
much
add it's gonna add a new flavor to this franchise," the dinosaurs on the mainland, interacting
it's
in
it's sort of
I'd
like
love to see a scene where, like, there's like a kid's in a classroom at school, and then there's all of a sudden there's a dinosaur attack.
right, it's like you
Like
get because you get a taste of that at the end of Lost World, but it's like now finally you have an opportunity to do that as an entire movie, you know? Like you have dinosaurs running through Las Vegas and so and that's what they set up at the end of Fallen Kingdom. You have dinosaurs invading the city and all that, and like there's so much potential there that this film just completely ignores because it like skips over that. Okay,
Yeah,
they're all on this reserve owned by an evil corporation
yeah, it
and
completely
like that.
undoes that because,
And
like,
then
oh
they
yeah, they're
never leave
actually all
that
on this
either.
one.
That's the
Yeah,
thing, is like this whole
exactly.
movie is pointless because they don't leave the sanctuary either, you
Yeah,
know?
it's yeah, very it's bizarre to set up a film and then you don't really do much with it.
And so like when you
Like,
get to the ending of this movie, it's like nothing really changes from beginning to end. It's like they stay on the same. Humans never really had to grapple with the weight of having to coexist with dinosaurs and stuff like that.
at no point does it feel like, oh yeah, any of these main characters can die. Like, at no point does it ever feel like, oh
Right.
yeah, any these guys can. Like in all the other films, you know, like
There's
they do a good job of making you think like, oh, maybe this character could die. You know? Yeah, that's. And I just remembered there was Colin Trevorrow, the director, said the Giga what's it called?
Giganotosaurus.
Giganotosaurus is
Giganotosaurus.
like the
Yeah.
Joker. Like that's how he described the.
I haven't thought
And
about that since 2022. Oh,
oh, I remember
yeah.
hearing about it, and that was the funniest shit I had ever heard. And I was like, "No way! Are we trying to
Yeah,
make
no.
this dinosaur? Like, we're seriously gonna try and make the
The
dinosaur?"
dinosaur's barely in the movie, by the way.
Exactly.
Joker
I was
of
like,
Jurassic The
I was
Giganotosaurus is in 2 scenes.
yeah, I was
3
genuine.
scenes, kind
There's
of. Yeah.
yeah, like three
The
scenes. It
T-Rex is
like there's
barely in the movie either.
yeah,
And
the
then Blue the
iconic like
Velociraptor is in 2
yeah,
scenes as well. Like, all of
exactly.
these
It's like
trademark dinosaurs have 2 scenes.
yeah, it's like there's so little actual dinosaur carnage in the film. Like honestly, there is not
Right.
much with
How many ho
dinosaurs.
how many people get eaten by dinosaurs in this movie? In a movie that
Uh,
is about dinosaurs eating people on the mainland, how many people it's probably, like, 2, I think.
um, there's Dodgson.
There's Dachshund, and then
There's
there was, like, 1 guy in Malta, I think.
there's one guy in Malta. There's also like a third guy who's on like a scooter in Malta, but he doesn't count because he's just a background character.
I think that's it.
It's
Like, there's
insane how
yeah.
little dinosaurs eating people there are.
So it
Like
doesn't
it's
even
just
really feel like a Jurassic Park movie until the second half when now these characters are in the element. They have to power all this stuff while running from dinosaurs in the woods and stuff like that. So that's when the movie gets better for me. But then, like you said, it does sort of taper off once you get to the actual final pieces of it, you know? And so it comes to a very, it feels like we went nowhere. That we had a bunch of fan service, we had locusts, we had dachshund. There was nothing that progressed from the beginning of the movie to the end. Like the circumstances did not change for any of the characters, really.
it is such a waste of a great setup. It's one of the biggest wastes of a
This
fantastic
could have
setup.
easily been the second best Jurassic Park movie since the original. You know,
Probably.
the Jurassic World trilogy, the Star Wars sequel trilogy, and like the new Halloween trilogy. I was thinking about this the other day. They're like all the exact same trilogy, pretty much. It's like they
That's
all
that's a really good point, actually.
It's like they all have a first movie that is done fairly well, and it's not like exceptional, but it's a fairly good reintroduction of the franchise. And then they have a second movie where big issues start showing up, but it hasn't gone underwater yet. And then they have a final movie where it's like, what were they doing? It's like they all have the same trajectory to me.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't dislike Halloween Ends. I'm gonna be honest. I thought it was very weird,
I,
and I see why people don't like it. Like I will
I
concede.
mean, I
I
kind of
get
get
why
that,
people think
but
it's. I get why people dislike it. Like I do get that, but it's just so out of nowhere, and I kind
I
of
mean, that's
like
another
that
one. I
that
was
they
like,
just. I honestly wish this film was more out there and they just did more weird shit with it. Like that's the big problem is they play it so safe. Like they play it so very very safe and I just don't understand why you would do that. Like cuz Fallen
I mean, I
Kingdom
think
for all the problems it has, it tried new things. Like it was out there, like fully embraced like European horror, with the Haunted Mansion stuff. Like I
yeah.
was like that is great. That is adding a new flavor to this franchise. And this film just doesn't do anything new. So I don't understand what
I
happened.
mean,
I really don't understand.
filmmaking wise, yeah, I agree. Like it doesn't really do anything new, but I mean, it does have some new things that didn't necessarily work out, like the locust, for example. But
Yeah.
I don't think so. Like in some respects, they played this movie very safe,
Mhm.
and then the you took the fundamentals and just threw them out, kind of. So I think
Yeah.
they took the areas where they should have taken risks, they played it safe. In the areas where they should have played it safe, they did stupid things. And so you get like, just a very bad mishmash mess of a movie to me.
It's yeah. I don't blame people for disliking this film, but I also don't think this is like one of the worst films I've ever seen. Like I have seen
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
considerably worse films. I think when I sort of look
I
at
don't.
people and look at their least favorite films, and it's always just sort
Is it
of
even? Is it even the worst
blockbuster.
Jurassic Park movie? Like I feel like
No,
three
I
was a
I
little bit
definitely
worse.
I think 3 and The Lost World are worse than this. Like, and I know that's like I feel like The Lost World has a bit of a fan base around it, but I don't really get that honestly.
Why does
But also,
Dodgson still have the Barbasol can? Like
I
that's like one of the fan service things that just doesn't make sense to me.
yeah, it's like
So
where did he get that from? Like
see, I know in
because
Canada they had like a search team go to the island after, but not Biosyn. Like that's
yeah, like
how
I
did Dodgson
don't
get a hold of that? I don't.
yeah, I don't understand like because yeah, based on the films, Nedry
And
loses
like
the aerosol cannon and it gets covered in mud and it gets lost
right.
forever.
They do it so obnoxiously too because like he's like carrying it while he's getting attacked by the Dilophosaurs and like drops and
Yeah,
rolls
if
with
he had
them.
put it in like a bag or something, I would be like, okay, fine.
It's
Like I
like
don't.
when they because that was what they did earlier in the movies. They just had him messing around with it. It's like okay, whatever. But then they do it so obnoxiously in the Dilophosaur scene. Like we
Yeah,
get
it's
it,
just
dude.
yeah, it's not. It's not a good. Yeah, it's just a bizarre choice. And I also remember that. I also remember that. I believe they said this was going to be the last Jurassic World film. I think they very much marketed it as like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
this is the end of the
that
franchise.
was what they said before the movie made $1 billion.
Well, that's it. It made $1 billion, and they were like, oh,
Right.
guess people still liked it. Like it's very yeah bizarre to me.
But
Like they were
that's
yeah they said, oh yeah,
the ending's
this
so
is the last
frustrating.
one.
Like now that we know it's not actually the last one, was I get it makes the ending a little bit less disappointing. Whereas like, when you're
That's how
seeing it
I
in the theaters, like
yeah
when I saw that
that's
ending in
how
the theater, I was so mad. I was like, is this really how we're ending the franchise?
yeah that's how I
But
felt. Like
and it's still a
um
bad ending to this trilogy. Like it is
yeah
still the ending to these characters and their storyline, and it is not good at that at all.
yeah
It
I
loses the weight on it a little bit when it's not the final Jurassic Park film.
Yeah, I think now that I know there is gonna be another one, it doesn't bother me as much because it's like
Like because before it was like, well, this was your last chance and you blew it. It's like, I
now
guess
they're
they're
like,
gonna keep
nah,
doing
nah, we're
that.
gonna. And I guarantee this new one is gonna make shitloads of money too. There's no way this doesn't make a lot of money.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Even
because
if
these
it's terrible,
films
it will do great at the box
look,
office.
the Jurassic look, kids are gonna turn out like parents are gonna take their kids are gonna see this. They're gonna see the trailers, they're gonna oh, it's a film with dinosaurs. Like they're gonna take their kids to go see it. Like that is what is going to happen because
And
kids
here's
love
the thing, that
dinosaurs.
these movies don't even really make their money in the US, because, like, Dominion, I think I might be wrong on this, but the domestic number wasn't, like, huge or anything. I think it was around, like, 350, 400, or something. But as, like,
Yeah.
overseas, it did huge because over in Asia, it's like they love all of the monster movies and stuff like
Yes,
that.
that's the
And
thing.
so,
Like China, a lot of
yeah,
studios, I guess, pander towards China because that's why
I think
Transformers
that
does so well because
this movie
the
made,
you know
like, most of its money in China, I think.
yeah, and that was one of the big problems with cinemas and why they had to close with COVID and they had to close because China closed cinemas and it's like oh we can't
Right.
release anything because it's not gonna make as much money because
Like, they held out on it because they knew they could get to a bill even with a movie that they knew was gonna be this poorly received, like, overseas, it would not matter. It was gonna be
yeah
big, and they were right,
exactly
it made $1 billion.
yeah and this new one is gonna make I don't know if it'll make 1 billion. I wouldn't be surprised if
It'll
it did.
it'll probably get close, at least. I don't
It'll
know
do
if the hype
very
is there
very
for,
well.
yeah, like, it'll be big, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't
Even
know.
if it's
Yeah, if there's like
absolutely terrible, like,
yeah,
at minimum, it'll
but
do, like, 800 million probably.
yeah, it'll be profitable. It'll certainly make back its budget and then some.
There
Like
will be more
it'll do.
Jurassic World movies after that.
Yeah,
There
they're
will be
gonna
many
keep
more.
making these films because they keep making money. Honestly, they'll keep making these movies until they're no longer profitable. And I don't think
Right.
there'll be a time where they aren't
I don't think
profitable. I
that'll
think
stop,
they
really. Like,
exactly. I think this is a franchise that will just go forever because they will always make money. You know, they might not always make $1 billion,
'cause, like,
but they'll make a lot of money.
'cause every generation of kids loves dinosaurs. Like,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
never gonna
It's
be a
easy
time
to
where
get it.
people there will be times when people stop caring about cowboys and stuff like that. People will never stop caring about dinosaurs, and so, like, these movies are gonna keep making those.
Yeah, and it's gonna do yeah, it'll do very well. But I mean, but before we sort of talk about that a bit more about that, Jesus Christ, did you have any sort of things you wanted to say on Jurassic World Dominion before we? Is there anything else you had? Any other notes that we didn't really touch on?
Uh, let's see. I mean, I pretty much, like, my last thing really was that, like, I first movie, Jeff Goldblum, he lays out all the principles of that humans are heading towards a confrontation with genetic power, and they're gonna have to decide what they do about it, how they're gonna respond to it. And then the way they set up this movie, the way they work around the premise, it's like they make it so they don't have to make a decision. And so we have done nothing with that storyline. And so, like,
Mm,
as this finale to the Jurassic World trilogy is like thematically it's not a resolution to anything. Like, it's
mhm.
so baffling the way that they brought this thing about. I think any other notes? I mean, I had a few other notes about, like, the directing and stuff like that. Like, in the first hour of the movie, like, it looks very gray and stuff like that, and that sort of
Mm,
diminishes the effect of seeing the dinosaurs. And it's showing because,
mm,
like, the movie before this was Fallen Kingdom, which, like, actually had pretty much good cinematography. Like, the colors on that really shine,
mm.
and, like, J.A. Bayona
Oh,
did a good
I
job
do want to
visualizing
say
that.
we haven't really talked about the like actual effects on the dinosaurs, like
And
in terms of like that they were very inconsistent. I felt in terms of how they
yeah.
look,
And I
like
think
the
they
original
get
Jurassic
better
Park.
in they look
Oh,
better in the second half of the movie because it's more shaded and it's at night and stuff like that.
yeah,
But,
yeah,
like, in the
but
first half of the
also
movie, it's always sunny.
yeah, and there's like moments where they're interacting with like I think like animatronics, and they just look very weird. Like I don't understand what was going on with the animatronics, but
Looks, part of that is just
they
the
look
way
very
they lit
off.
this movie. Like, you can tell this movie was made during COVID because this does not look like the other two. I mean,
Yeah,
the first Jurassic World wasn't necessarily like this master class in filmmaking, but at least in that movie, like the colors pop and like it is effectively done. You know, like there is
yeah, and
constant
I think
continuity.
like when they work well, they work very well. Like when the effects of the dinosaurs
Right.
were they work well, but they were inconsistent, which I thought was very, very strange because if they had like an extra year or whatever of post production because of COVID, there shouldn't be. They should still look good because they had an extra
Yeah.
however long to work on the effects. Like that's something that would not
Right.
be affected by COVID, you know.
Yeah. It's so
So I think
weird. I
it's
mean, that's
yeah, it's very bizarre, and because they had a much longer period of time on post production to do things, so it doesn't. Um, it's yeah, very strange to me that
did they
yeah,
have
it's
anything
very
else?
bizarre to me that the effects are as inconsistent as they are because that shouldn't be a thing hampered by COVID because
Right.
you don't need to have.
You didn't have less time. You had more time. Like
Yeah, you had more time,
don't
and
know
it's not
why it
like
was
you
so
needed
inconsistent.
actors on set or anything. Like it is just people, you know, on working on a computer or whatever, by themselves. They don't need to be in a, with other people. Really, it's you can do it at home for God's sake. It's just very very strange that it's very strange how inconsistent. Because I thought the effects looked pretty good in the first two Jurassic World films. Yeah, it's very bizarre, and I mean, a handful of the effects in the first Jurassic Park have aged like a little bit. Like
Yeah,
some
but
of the visual, like some of the CGI has aged a bit, but it's also because that's in daylight.
I
Like
mean,
when
that
it's
was
in
one of the
nighttime.
first movies to do CGI too. Like,
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing as well. I can I can excuse it there because it was pioneering.
right.
Um,
It's like there were only a few other movies that had ever used that technology. It's like that was an early '90s thing. I
yeah,
mean, like I think the biggest movie before Jurassic Park that utilized stuff like that was Terminator 2.
but I mean, I don't really have much more to say on Jurassic World Dominion. I
I
think
will
I've
say
kind of
one other
said.
thing.
Yep.
How did Blue have the child? Because the way th
That's that's a very good question because they
there are no
establish
other
in the other.
velociraptors, and so, like, I guess this was
Yeah.
what they thought in their head would be the justification, is that in the original movie, they say, "Oh, well, it's frog DNA, right?" And they change sex to sex to reproduce. But that still
Mhm.
requires more than one dinosaur.
Yeah, they're not like I don't want to say asexual is not the word, but there's like a word for like animals that can like
Blue can't
reproduce.
reproduce with herself. That doesn't
Yeah, there's like, but I know there's like animals that can They don't need like a second. They don't need like another partner or anything to like reproduce. I know that's a thing. I think, but
I mean,
because
that's
it's not a.
something they've never established in the franchise.
But
They didn't
exactly, they've
explain in
never
this movie.
established that dinosaurs do that. They're
Right.
like yeah, as they say in the Jurassic Park, the first one they say like yeah they can change gender because there's frogs that can do that. Um,
Right.
and I'm like yeah cool, completely get that, makes sense. I can yeah go with that, but they've never established they can like reproduce without another like they can reproduce by themselves, like that's never been established.
Right. And that would be
So
such a weird oversight too for when they're creating the original park and making them all female. And I
that's
don't
the
think the
thing as
scientists were
well.
that stupid, you know? And so
That
it's such a
exactly, because
weird
'cause there'd
thing to
be
it's
even more dinosaurs if they could reproduce by themselves. Like, that
right.
is the thing of, like, they like, that's not how it doesn't even
Like,
really go anywhere, and there's, like, that daughter, like, from the like, it's the kid from the
I mean, it
second
doesn't really because
film. It
Blue is
doesn't
barely in
matter.
the movie, so it doesn't
Exactly,
end up
Blue doesn't
mattering to
even
anything either.
go yeah, Blue isn't even with them when they go to the island. Like, Blue
Right.
is basically a non-factor. One of the Blue is, a pretty big part of the other two films. And then
She is the raptor, and, like, they
yeah.
make Blue sort of like the heart of the dinosaurs, kind of. And
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
they
it's
give her
sort
a
of a
lot
silly
of,
thing, but it works in the other 2.
they give her a lot of character as well for a dinosaur, like she's
Right.
but
And so it's weird she doesn't get to do anything in this movie, so
yeah, I really don't get what they were trying to do with these film. Honestly, I don't understand what what they were doing with these films. I really don't understand. Like, these films just felt like they didn't know what they were doing. Like, they felt like
they didn't have a
I don't
direction to
understand.
go.
It's like Disney's Star Wars trilogy. It's like, what is like why does like Hollywood, why do like so many major studios not understand like how to plan a franchise? Like, I don't understand why this is
And it's like,
still a problem. Like, I don't
I get
understand.
that Star Wars is more complicated because Star Wars has so many pieces. This is Jurassic Park, dude. This should not be that hard.
Oh, it
And so
shouldn't
it's
be.
like
It's like it's
it's
bizarre
baffling that
that
you can even get a movie like Dominion, you know? It's like, how did we
yeah,
get here?
yeah, I just don't understand how so many franchises just don't understand how to plan shit out. Like, you're gonna make a big franchise. Make sure you have like a story across the films. Like, even Marvel's
Right,
making those issues having those issues now. Like, Marvel is for some reason just
right.
being like, oh yeah, no, we're just sort
Because
of
they didn't know
making
where to go
things.
after Endgame.
That's the problem. They didn't have anywhere to go, and now it's a whole mess. And it's just, I don't get what's happening with Hollywood. Is just in a very weird place because they don't seem to know what they're doing. I mean, we've got James Gunn's Superman coming out, and to be honest, I could definitely buy that they've got a plan for that because I think James Gunn knows what the fuck he's
I
doing.
mean, I trust James Gunn more than most people in Hollywood, probably.
Yeah, because I
Like, if
think James Gunn, like, saying, "Oh yeah, we're not gonna, make films until we have like a finished script and we're happy with it," which is like good.
and
That
James
should be the
Gunn has a good
standard.
track record too.
He's got a very good track record. I don't think I've disliked any film he's made. I like them all. And I
Like, he is
don't think
very good at storytelling in that genre, and so, like, if I would buy that he knows what
exactly.
he's doing with planning out a
Yeah,
universe.
and yeah, I mean, Superman hasn't come out yet, and I'll be doing an episode to talk for Superman. But I'm cautiously optimistic about it because
I mean, it could
it's
easily just not go anywhere. Like, this could be a bad start, and then they have no idea what to do after that. But
and then
hopefully,
they
they can
kind of
pull it
just
off.
have. But I also think because James Gunn knows what he's doing and he has a proven track record. Also, I just want the Superman movie to be good so that the Snyder cultists will just shut up and go
They
away
can shut
because
up. Yeah,
they're
they're like
just
a
so
terrorist group at this point. They act like a terrorist group.
like,
Like, the
look, I
Snyder cult
get that it
is
sucks.
such a strange place.
Yeah, but
Jurassic World.
I think a lot of these franchises have a lot to there's a lot in common
They're
because they're all
morphing into the
kind of
same thing.
yeah, and I think that Hollywood I understand why these movies have to be made. Like, these movies have to exist for
To
cinemas
keep
to
the lights
stay
on,
open.
yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause,
exactly.
without these movies, you can't get your A24s and stuff like that. 'Cause you need
And yeah,
these
and you
tentpoles
don't get
in
your
the theaters as well.
neon and stuff from you know. I mean, hell, films like The Brutalist wouldn't be made if The Brutalist is for example, is an ambition, like it's a 3.5 hour film with an intermission and everything. Like it's going to be
Right.
a hard sell for cinemas. But if you have, and so
Yeah.
people celebrating,
If you have other
blockbuster
things
films.
alongside that, then they're
Yeah,
willing to do stuff like The Brutalist.
yeah, exactly. And people sort of rate like the Wood films doing badly, but it's like, but you don't understand. Like these films doing
I never
badly is just gonna
celebrate
mean
films doing badly.
no. But it's like
It's like, even when a
this
movie I
doing
hate
badly.
makes $1 billion, I'm fine with that, you know? Like, whatever
It
keeps the
just
lights on.
means you can get more auteured cinema. Like this Lilo and Stitch remake.
But I
A
haven't
very
seen
pointless
that, and I
film.
know, like, people are dooming about that potentially making $1 billion. Like, I'm sure that movie isn't very good, but, like, I don't really it's good for cinemas for it to do well, you know?
Like cinemas staying open, it is reliant
That is a
on
good thing, you know?
block. Yeah, it's like if you still want to go to the cinema to see other films, these blockbusters have to be made. Like as unfortunate as it is to say, because and I like and I like blockbuster cinema. I like going to the cinema
But
and
you
seeing a
still want
Marvel movie.
blockbuster cinema to be good, you know?
I want it to be good. Yes,
That's
I want them to be. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna pretend like, oh, I enjoyed all these films. I'm gonna just say that I want these. I understand where these films are made, and I will see these films, and I enjoy a lot of them, but but I just think like they have to be made just so we can have films still being made. But also, like,
right.
just look at like Sinners. Sinners came out and is done extraordinarily well. Like
Mhm.
Sinners was, and I liked Sinners a lot. I thought it was quite good,
Yeah.
and it is done insanely well box office wise. Like it's an original story, and it's done insane numbers at the box office, And it's like, see, this is why cinemas should be staying open so we get more films like Sinners. Like
Right.
this is why you need your blockbuster films
But it's like,
so that to
in
get
order
films like
to pay for
Sinners.
a movie like Sinners, you have to get a movie like Minecraft, you know?
Exactly, And it's also like you don't have to see Minecraft. If you don't want to see Minecraft,
Yeah.
don't have
Like,
to see it.
don't shame people for watching Minecraft or Lilo and Stitch. You can just not see them, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to not watch a movie. Like there are movies I have said I won't be paying to see that. I did not pay to see Minecraft because I didn't want to pay to see it. I don't want to, I will inevitably watch it, but I just decided I'm not going to pay to see it because it doesn't look
Like, why,
good.
you know?
I haven't heard good things about it, and there's no point in like, but you can just not see a movie. Like it's easy to not watch a movie. If a movie does not interest you, you don't have to see
Just skip
it.
it, yeah.
It's like pretty
So that's
easy.
the thing is,
There
like,
are so many movies you probably have not seen that you can go watch instead. Like cinema is a
yeah.
medium that has existed for over 100 years now. There are films you will not have seen. Like there's 100+ years worth of cinema to watch.
No
You
one
don't have
will
to
ever be able to
see.
watch every movie ever.
No, it's
There's
impossible to
so
do
much
so.
out there.
Uh, and so you can just skip a film that doesn't interest you to watch something that does interest you because you've got so much choice. It's just very weird. Like, and I know people seeing people complain about these films. It's like, yeah, but you also don't have to see. Like, I think it's interesting for people to complain about films that they aren't watching, that they're not going to
Yeah,
be watching. Like, I think it's interesting. Like, because I will see Jurassic World Rebirth. Like, I will be
yeah.
seeing it because I I
I mean,
I I'm you
I
know,
feel
my mum
obligated
wants
to
to
see that.
see
Like
it,
I
and it could be
like it's
good.
Jurassic
Like, it
Park.
could honestly be good, and I like some of the
Yeah.
actors. The trailers don't look too bad. Like, I'm gonna be honest, the trailer actually,
Also,
let's just quickly put a
I
rating on
wasn't
Jurassic World
crazy.
Dominion before we talk about
Okay.
Jurassic World Rebirth, actually.
Okay.
I give it a 6 out of 10. I think
Okay.
it's I don't yeah, it's there's a lot of stuff that I don't like in it, but there's also a lot that I do quite like in it. So I it sort of levels
Like at
out
the end
to
of
a
the day,
6, and
you had a good
I
time with
didn't
it. Like,
dislike watching it. I yeah, I didn't have any problem watching it. I thought it was like like very fine. And because now it's no longer the last film in the franchise, I don't really
it's
think
less
it's that
disappointing.
bad. Yeah, it's less disappointing. Um so yeah, I give it a 6 out of 10.
So for me, I I don't necessarily hate the movie. It's not boring or anything. If someone put this on, I wouldn't leave the room because at the end of the day, I think it's a very frustrating movie. So I give it a 4 out of 10. But I
Mm.
wouldn't give it like a 1 or 2 or what some other people
Yeah.
have given it.
Well, yeah, I know people. I think we both know people who would give it like 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10.
If someone commented on my letterbox review is like 2 out of 5 is way too generous. Is it? Is it too
That's still a
generous?
negative score. Like,
Yeah,
it's a like that's a pretty damning score for a film. Like, honestly, I think 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10 is I reserve
I
that
reserve.
rating.
Yeah,
Like, I
I
don't
don't
give it
give those
that.
out freely.
No, a film needs to really and generally when I give a film a 1 out of 10, it's like bad on every level. Like, it's out of focus.
Yeah,
You can see like lighting, you can see like camera rigs in the background of shots. You can see
yeah.
like there's shadows where there shouldn't be shadows. The visual effects are
I
bad.
I
The
view I
acting's
view
bad.
one
You
out
know,
of
like,
tens as like they did nothing well. Like it
yeah.
was just a
I'm just
complete
looking
fit.
at
Like
my
you can't name
letterbox.
positives.
Yeah, I was just looking at my letterbox. I've got 18 1 out of 10s and 23 2 out of 10. But yeah, we're tying this into Jurassic World Rebirth, which will be out. Well, by the time this episode comes out, it'll be
It'll
out
be
this
out.
week.
Yeah.
Um, I, I'm the marketing, like, the trailers haven't looked completely terrible.
But
If
I
I'm being
thought
like
I did
completely
not like
honest.
the first trailer, but then I thought the second trailer was a little bit better. I'm not really crazy about the dialogue that's been in the trailer, but the
Yeah,
actual visuals and dinosaur action seems cool.
yeah. I
So
am hoping, like, oh, I want it to be good. I want every film I watch. I don't. I never go into a film hoping it's bad or think like sometimes I go into film
right,
thinking this be good, but I never go in wanting it to be good. Um,
right. They always going with an open mind. That's what I'm gonna do with Rebirth. Like
I want
we've
it to
been
be
burned by this
good.
franchise a little bit, but
Yeah, and there's a few
hopefully,
scenes in the trailers that look good. Like, I'm gonna
I'm
call
worried
scenes
about
in the
like the
trailers that I'm
hybrid
like,
stuff though.
I don't know how I feel about that yet. I'm like, okay, are we
I mean, I'll
really
s- I'll
doing that
see
again?
I'll see how it's done in the movie. If it's handled well,
Yeah,
then all right.
but
But I mean, I'm skeptical of it.
there's the river raft sequence with the
Yeah, that
tears.
looks cool to me.
The book actually. I
Right?
genuinely,
Yeah.
when I saw that in the trailer, I actually got a bit. I got it. That was like sort of. I got a bit giddy. I'm like, oh, it's that bit from the book that I love. You know, it's that
Yeah,
great scene in
they're
that book.
finally
You know,
doing it.
and that's a
Yeah, I'm
you know, and
excited
I
for
think
that.
that's it looks fun. I think it will definitely it'll be a hopefully, of course, it'll be a fun sequence. And there's a bit with the mosasaur where they're on the boat and Scarlett Johansson's like hanging off the side of the boat, which could be a potentially, fun sequence. I will say though, the some of the posters I've seen for this film look really bad. Like,
Yeah.
these posters look really quite. They don't look good. I'm gonna be honest. They don't. Some of
Yeah.
them don't look good. They look like someone did them at home. Like they look
Yeah.
like just very sort of stock images. There is one poster actually where it's sort of you sort of half see like this dinosaur and like Marshall Ali's got like the flare in his hand. Like that actually doesn't look half bad as a poster. I think that one looks actually all right. But some of these other posters just don't look very good. They said it was the end of the franchise, and I kind of figured like, well, they'd probably make another one. I didn't think it would take them 3 years to make another one, though. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, they made it took them, like, 1 year to make because they announced that they wrote the script in, like, March last year.
Yeah,
It's like
no,
they went into production on this thing super quick.
I was surprised they got it out for this year. I was like, oh, they're gonna get it out because they announced it, and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we've announced it, and it's coming out next year. By the way, like we're gonna film it this year, and it'll be out next year. It's like, Jesus, that's a very quick turnaround for a film
Right.
like this as well. Like,
Compared to what happened with Dominion, you know?
yeah, exactly.
And so
I'm just trying to see. So, principal photography began in Thailand on June 13th. So they started filming this a year before it's due to come out. Hollywood films really should
yeah.
stop doing that because it clearly
Yeah.
shows in the visual effects that they are like. I mean, they've just delayed the next two Avengers films because they're like, oh shit, we're not gonna be able to get these like where we want
Right.
them. Yeah, I want it to be good, and to be honest, it could be. I think honestly, at worst, I think this film could be very sort of like whatever nonsense that I don't feel a desire to revisit.
Right.
Um, I'm
I mean, I
almost
feel
certain there are going to be people who see it and consider it one of the worst films of the decade. Like I'm just
yeah.
certain there are people who are going to see it and call it that, but
They do that with,
I
like,
don't think.
every movie like this. They did that with
Yeah,
Alien Romulus last year, which I thought that was crazy. I
I
thought that
I
was a
was
good movie.
I liked Alien Romulus. I was disappointed in it because it could have just been so much better. Like there was a lot of elements in that film that was so great, but bringing back Ian home, I was like, okay, you've lost me. Like you've
That's
lost
too
me
much,
there.
yeah. I mean, there were definitely things that could have been done better, but the worst of the year was insane, you know?
No, I'm very cautiously optimistic on this.
Right.
I
That's pretty
I
much
want
I'm the
it to
same.
be I want it to be good. And I mean, we've got a big like this coming July, this summer blockbuster season. It's pretty
Very
stacked. Like, because
crowded.
we've got
Yeah.
this, then we've got Superman, and then we've got Fantastic Four
Fantastic
coming out
Four.
as well. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a stacked. I mean, I call it summer. It's not summer here in Australia, but it's like summer in the US.
Oh, it is summer over here.
Yeah, I don't really have expectations for it. I'm gonna be honest. The trailers don't
Oh,
look half bad, but I'm not holding my breath. You know, I'm
right.
not gonna be like this will be great or whatever. You know, I think
Hopefully it'll be
um
good. Maybe it won't be. We'll see.
yeah, I honestly I'll say this. I don't think it'll be the worst film in the franchise.
I doubt that, yeah. I
I
I
just
have a
think
hard
it.
at least for me, it seems it's going back to the roots a bit, like, it's a more at least seemingly a more simple premise. I feel like it'll probably be better than Dominion at least, and probably better than,
I could
like,
definitely see
Jurassic
it being
Park 3.
better than Dominion. I could see it being better than Jurassic Park 3. Um, Probably The Lost World as well, actually. Yeah, well, The Lost World's my least
Yeah.
favorite, so I could definitely see it being better than that. And I can see it being better than Dominion. I just hope it's. I just want it to be fun. Really, that's just what I want. I just want
Yeah.
fun dinosaur carnage. That's all I really need
I
in these
just
films. I don't
I
need
don't
it to
want it
be
to be over polluted with locusts or hybrids or
no,
human clones or
just yeah,
whatever else.
send
I
people to
want
an
classic
yeah,
dinosaur action, you know?
just send people to an island, have them deal with dinosaurs. Like it's not
Like
it's not difficult. I'm not asking for
That shouldn't be
much, you
hard to
know.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not a massive request. I don't need much. I just want some fun dinosaur carnage. That's all I need, you know. You know, definitely. I think it was a disappointing end, but also now that they've made a new one, I don't have to look at that as the end anymore, so that's fine. I don't really care. And I also yeah, it's not even the worst film in the franchise, I would say. But
We'll
I mean,
see what
I've pretty
happens
much
from here.
said all I need to say on this.
Yeah, I'm pretty much good too.
So thank you again, Josh, for joining me. If you want to hear Josh again, we did an episode on Promising Young Woman,
Mhm.
like a year and a
It was
half
in
ago now.
like November 2023-ish, somewhere around
Yeah,
there.
so go listen to that. Yeah, go listen to that. We talked about Promising Young Woman. A good film. I really like
Mhm.
that film. I
Yeah,
know some people don't like it, but I don't really get it. I think it's quite fun and quite
mhm.
um
I thought that was a good movie. Weak
yeah.
ending, but good movie.
The ending, I'm less sure on the ending, but everything before that I thought was very good. And I mean, I like
Yeah.
Saltburn. Like I said, I thought Saltburn was good.
Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, thank you all for listening. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.